Hello and welcome to the course Introduction to SQL. Now, in this course, we're going to talk a little bit about how we can implement your database using SQL, and we'll go over the different statements used to do so. We'll work our way through a larger database together as we figure out the different clauses needed to make queries within our database to pull information. Now, today we're going to be looking at the basics of SQL. We'll take a quick overview of the different commands or statements that we will be using throughout the series and some quick information about them. So, we have created a logical model as well as a conceptual model in the past in a different series, and now it's time to move towards implementing our database. And here in this episode, we're going to speak a little bit more about SQL as well as some relational algebra that we are to be implementing further down the road. So firstly, we'll take a look at what does SQL actually stand for. And as you can see on the picture here, it says Structured Query Language. So what does that even mean? Well, it means that it's a declarative language and that it tells the database what it's supposed to be done, but it does not tell the database how it wants it done. So if you compare this to a coding language such as C or Java, it's going to tell you both what is supposed to be done, but also how it's supposed to be done. So SQL only tells the database what is supposed to be done. Now, this has become a standard for communicating with relational databases. Let's have a look at our database management system that we're going to use in this course. I am using Microsoft SQL Server for this course, but you can tag along in any system that you wish to use. There are several out there for you to choose from. So some commands, I must warn you, is going to be different if you're using another software for this course, but usually it's just a simple syntax change and you will be able to tag along anyways. So let's have a look at this then. Here you can see within the orange square or rectangle, you'll see that this is our query window. Here is where we're going to be working with our statements and clauses to get information from the database. Now, if you do not understand the command on the screen, do not worry. We are going to explain all of this throughout this course. This window here is where we're going to be seeing our results from. So if we make a query from the query window, such as we've done here, all of the results that are match up with our declarative statements is going to be projected into this box down here. Now, if there is any issue with our statement and clauses up above, we're going to get our error messages in this box as well. Now this here is our object manager, and here we'll find all our databases as well as the information stored within. You can look at the columns in your table and see what keys they have, for instance, and you may also see which attributes they have, and you can see if you have any indexes. It's also going to show here. You can see a diagram of your database. We'll get into this a little bit more later. But just know that this is an awesome thing to use if you just want to have like a brief overview over your database. Alright, so now we've seen that our SQL management system got the offer. Let's get some basics of SQL out of the way so we can get into the fun. We need to start with the foundational SQL commands that are available to us and those that we are going to focus on in this course. And here we'll start with the DML, or what we call a data manipulation language side of things, and we find 4 different commands here. We'll find insert, which is the first block of letters at the top where it says insert into table name, and then we're in parentheses which columns to add, and then underneath you have values and values of the columns chosen. Below that you have the update command, which says update and then a table name, and then set column to change equals change value, column 2 to change equals change value 2, and so on. And then we also have a where clause set to it, where it says that a condition must be set. So for instance, let's say if we wanted to change a specific person, we'll choose a specific unique identifier of that person, and then we'll change everything in just that entity occurrence. Then as the third you have delete, which, as you might have guessed, actually deletes stuff. And below that you have something called select. Now select is what we're working with the most. This is your query basis. So if you wanted to find everything in the table, let's say users down here on the left, you would say select and then a star or an asterisk, and then you say from users. And you will see user ID, you would see the first name, you will see the last name, you will see mobile phone, home phone, the street address, street number, and zip code of every single person in that table. So that was the manipulation language, and we'll move on and arrive at the DDL, or what we call a data definition language. And here we define the database using commands such as create table, which is going to create a new table here on the side. So customers is a table, employee is a table, sale is a table, sale occurrence is a table, and so on. Here we'll set attributes, the data type that they have, if they are supposed to not accept nulls, as in we're not allowing nothing to be stored in that specific attribute. Is it a primary key? And if it's a foreign key, we add that as well here. Now the next thing we're going to do is we'll alter a table, and that means that maybe we want to remove one of these attributes, then we'll drop a column, or maybe we want to add a foreign key, and then we'll use this command, alter table. Now we're going to dive a little bit more into this at a later date, but this is just the basics and a brief overview. So I'll have an entire episode on how to alter your tables coming up down the road. After this, you got the third one, which is to drop a table. This means to delete the entire table. And if you are doing this, make sure that there's nothing in it that you need, so you don't delete something that is actually useful. And then we got these three here, which are a little bit more complex, which means that we're going to have a separate episode on these coming up as well. For right now, just know that an index is something that speeds up your queries or searches. So we're going to be looking at this a little bit more. And a view is something that limits what a user can see when they do searches within the database. So outside of the definition and manipulation side, we also got a DCL, or what we call a data control language. Now these includes commands such as grant and revoke, and these are rights placed on your database to control the data within. Now we'll dive a little bit more into this at a later date as well. I'm just bringing it up right now since it's a little bit more complex. We'll look at this later. And then we also got something called a transactional control language that includes commit and rollback. And these are commands which allows an administrator to either push the database into a new update or to roll back in case of an emergency or problems with the database. With that being said, I thank you for watching this introduction to our SQL course, and I hope you stick with us as we continue to explore SQL together. Thank you so much for today. Hope to see you again.